what all did you get into? Just the first year.
The first year, the
Yeah,
first
just the
year.
first year. What did you burden yourself with?
Well, for animals, we brought our chickens with because we had chickens before we moved here. So brought all of our chickens and then immediately got a bunch of goats and horses and pigs. And
Oh my gosh.
I think that was pretty much that was the first year. Eventually we
Chickens,
added
pigs, goats,
horses.
horses.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
See, it sounds so funny to say it now.
This is the Farm Hop Life Podcast, a traveling homestead family. I'm Matt DeRosier. On the Farm Hop Life Podcast, we learn what it takes to grow your own food from everyday people. Could be a college student, grows tomatoes and salad greens on their apartment patio, a former VP of marketing for Del Taco now raising cattle in Montana, or someone who hasn't had a homestead in over 10 years. This show is aimed at teaching you what it takes to make homesteading work for you, that we all make mistakes, we all have bad days, but we can reach out and help one another thrive, and giving you the confidence needed to go feed yourself.
It is
Come
hard
on,
to get back
seriously?
into the groove, for sure.
Yeah, you were gone for
Ever.
forever.
Forever.
I mean, it was what, six months?
6 or 7 months, yeah. It was wild. So you actually are the first interview that I am doing since I came back. So this is wild to be like,
Excellent.
how the lights work? Like, do I have lights after the sun goes down outside? And which mic do I connect to? And it's just, yeah. But it's good to be back at it. It's good.
Good. Yeah, it was I had been wanting to interview for a while, and then you took that job away
Yeah.
like off the farm.
Yeah.
And then I sent you a message like kind of like joking, like, hey, now that you're retired or whatever stupid thing I said, would you still want to still do an interview? And I think you were still kind of like figuring your things out, and but yeah, it was fine.
And here we are, right?
Here we are.
Here we are.
6
It
months
works out.
later.
I know, right?
So how are you liking the job?
I actually am now only working there 1 day a week.
Nice.
If that tells you anything.
It tells me that you like something to do away from the farm.
Mm-hmm.
But only like it for a couple hours a week.
Yeah. It was interesting because I like having that day where I can think about other people's stuff. I think when you are used to being at home and working on all your writing and your podcasting and all the things that I do and the farm, you just get in your own head. And so I think the best thing that I figured out about working away from home, which I haven't done since, before my kids were born,
Sure.
it's just crazy to go back into that. But the thing that I realize is I like having that space to kind of think about something else and get out of my own head. And when I was just working at home, I would always say, I need to leave the house, or I need to make sure that, I have things planned away from home. But when you don't have somebody standing over you saying, you need to do this, it's very easy to go, oh yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll run my errands tomorrow. I'll do it, oh, maybe, the next day. And so this actually makes me leave the house, and it's been good. But I also realized I don't want to be gone all the time. And I realized the way we set up the farm and the way we set up our life, if we want it to run the way that it always has, like, I need to be here. And I don't mind that. I love that. So it was, I learned a lot from the experience and learned that being away from home 1 day is great and more than 1 day is not great. So there you go.
It's glad, like, I'm glad that you found like that happy medium, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like it could, obviously it's easy to swing too far one direction.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you gotta make like serious, like gotta do some serious backpedaling to
Oh, yeah.
try to bring it the other way, and then it kind of just
Yeah.
there's like this reverberation thing
Yeah.
where it so
That's a really good
good.
description of what it was. I thought it was going to be, I think what happened is my kids grew up, we homeschooled them all the way through, and then our youngest graduated, and I was like, ta-da, I need to do something different because now the kids are grown up and they're doing their own thing, and I I just had that in my head that I needed to market as ta-da, something different. No one else had ever said that. My husband was not like, when the kids are, done with school, you need to go get a real job. I mean, that was never the conversation, and I just made that up in my own head and decided to go off and do things and did things and said we got to reel it back just a bit. So, it's good to figure those things out.
Yeah. You did have a little help from a toad, though. Let's be honest.
I did have a little help from a toad. That toad, I tell you, man, he was great. The things you learn from the animals outside when you need to figure out that you need to have a story to tell at the end of the day. And you know what I
Right.
realized from all of that? I realized that, I mean, I guess I should tell the story so, your listeners aren't like, what are you talking about? So my husband had asked me, this is before I took the job. He had asked me, what'd you do today? Waiting for this great big story that I did. And all I could think to tell him from my whole day was, I found a toad. I found a toad outside. And and my husband, he works in law enforcement. And so he's got great stories, right? He's off saving the world. And what am I saying? I found a toad today. And I just like that coming out of my mouth. I was like, what in the world am I doing with my life? And I want a better story to tell, and yeah, so that toad taught me a lot. But I learned I do have stories to tell, you know? There are stories on the farm. It doesn't have to be a big ta-da, look what I did out in the world. Or it can be that,
Yeah.
Everybody's got
Maybe you'll
stories.
find 2 toads.
Maybe I'll find a toad and a stray cat, like, because that's what I always find when I go to my barn. There is another dang cat in my barn. It's crazy.
The one that's chatty or the other? Like there's another one.
There is another one. The chatty one is still here. And now we just had a big orange boy show up, and the other boys do not like him. I mean, you know what's going on there. Mhm. Yeah, so they're always telling him he needs to leave, but I don't know, he's still around. I don't know.
More entertainment.
I know, more mouths to feed. That's what it is.
That's
This
true.
is how the crazy cat lady thing happens, right? We don't want to be a crazy cat lady, but you live in the country and a storm happens, a blizzard happens, and you go in the barn and you're like, "Oh, look, there's another cat." They
There's
just show up.
extra cat. Yeah.
This is what happens. Yes,
They just show up.
they do. They do.
It's funny that you mentioned the stories that you need to tell. Just yesterday, my wife told me about how she got stuck waiting for the family bathroom at Costco for 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
That was like, and like with the 2 kids. So that was like
Oh,
it was like a whole thing.
I bet.
Whole thing there.
Ugh.
The
How
Costco employees. Go ahead.
is life with 2 children now? It's been a while since we talked, so you have another
Yeah.
baby now. So
Yep,
how is
we
that?
have another baby.
Yeah.
It's good. She is, let's see, what month is it? She just turned 8 months old.
Oh gosh.
So
Oh gosh.
yeah,
Woo.
she's still small for her age.
Mhm.
But she's healthy, and that's all we care about.
Good.
So
Good.
she's slowly gaining
That's
weight,
awesome.
and yeah,
And
it was a roller coaster summer.
Entertaining people while they wait for the bathroom, I imagine.
Yes. Yep, there was a whole issue with buying like
Oh.
5 pounds of jelly beans to, kind of smooth things over with my 2-year-old son. So
You do
um,
what you have to do,
I guess,
Like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's crazy. We like we had this whole trip planned this year.
Mhm.
Putting in the notice, 1 year notice, and April 1st we were going to hit the road, and then like tons of little things happened. Like, so we were looking for a travel trailer, and like we go, all right, we found the one that we like. Are we going to do this or not? And we kind of like hummed and hawed about it and found like the perfect one. Okay, let's do this. How are we going to pay for it? And like we kind of came up with like all like these like half-ass solutions, right? Like nothing
Right.
was like good, but we're just kind of like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So like, okay, we're going to figure it out. And I was set on, sticking out my commitment to the year notice with that employer. And
Yep.
then I had a friend had asked me to like come work with him for his company, and I already denied him earlier in the summer. I was like, dude, you're gone too much. Like I can't handle that. I like being at home seeing my kids.
Mhm.
But then he asked me to apply again, and I'm like, I told him no again, and I went to my wife that night, and I'm like, do you think I should at least apply and check it out? She's like, yeah, ask him questions. So I texted him like 100 questions. What about this? What about that? And then he convinced me to apply and whatnot. So I had the interview, and I didn't think I did that well, and I ended up not getting the position. So I'm like, okay, I guess we're, it wasn't meant to be. Let's do like, we're gonna stick with the farm hop thing.
Sure.
And the night after, we were kind of like, how are we gonna pay for a travel trailer? The next day, job offer comes in.
Oh my gosh.
So like we saw, like I forwarded it to my wife, and I'm just kind of like F.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like, what do we do, right?
Oh.
And so she's like, you don't have to take it, but you kind of have to take it. And
Oh.
we took it as a sign. Like we were like,
Yeah.
okay, we got like this financial issue, several financial issues. Like how we were just talking last night, how are we going to take this on? And like this offer just like falls in my lap essentially. So I
Isn't that
took it,
crazy?
and yeah, it's
Gosh.
wild. And so I've been doing that for the last 3 months.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how stuff works out? Like you got the
Yeah.
plans, you got the vision, and it's just so crazy how it
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the whole traveling the country thing is
Yeah.
like looking a lot smaller. Like we might go out of the county.
That's okay.
Let's just focus on the county
Yeah.
and build community that way or something. I don't know. We'll make it. We're trying to still working through the kinks, making
There
it
you
work.
go.
So
It'll work. It'll be what it's supposed to be.
it'll be what it's supposed to be.
This
Time.
is true. Yeah.
Just need
Yeah.
time. But yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, your latest episode, you have the Farmish Kind of Life podcast.
Yep.
Which our names are way too similar. It's kind of creepy. You had your episode about things to admit, and
Yeah.
one of the things that you admitted was that you're not great at conversation. Like
Mhm.
that's what you think, but like it's interesting how you perceive yourself, right?
Right.
But after you said that makes a whole lot of sense when you're like, this is going to be recorded, right? Like we're not going live, right? And I was like, oh, that makes sense now. I get it. I was a little slow there.
We could have done live, but I just like it was my first time back, like the first interview back after
Sure.
and I was like, I just want to make sure this all works. But yeah,
Get the
isn't it
cobwebs
crazy?
off. Yeah.
Get the cobwebs off, make sure the mic is yeah. Now you know what you need to know. That's right.
No. Yep. Because you guys did Fireside Freedom Live, didn't you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. But it's funny because some people would work with a lot of notes and wanted to know what the questions were ahead of time and where is this conversation going. And other people were like, let's just talk. So yeah.
Yeah.
It takes all types.
So you also have a newsletter, like an old school mail out newsletter.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How did that start?
It started, I've always liked to write letters. I've always liked to communicate through the mail. Like stickers on little papers. And, I used to, oh my gosh, I had so many pen pals when I was younger. I just loved to do that. And a friend and I were talking one day and she mentioned, whatever happened, actually, I think it was her husband said, whatever happened to like old school, just newsletters, not email newsletters, just old school on paper newsletters that you get in the mail. It's not junk mail. It's not a bill. It's not, stuff you don't want to get, like actual stuff in the mail that you read. And I kind of ran with that idea and I thought, I wonder if this will work, and came up with it. And I've been doing it for a year now. So, which is crazy because I didn't know if it was going to fly, but it has. And people really seem to like it. It's 6 pages, so 3 pages front and back, black and white, just homesteading stuff, deep thoughts, recipes, just a whole bunch of stuff, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So, yeah.
Is that something you charge for?
Yeah. Yep.
Just to, like, cover postage basically, or
Yeah, it's $40 a year for US and $50 for international. So,
Oh.
yeah, covers
Are you
printing and
able
postage and a little bit extra. And every once in a while, I'll hide like a little giveaway in there if you're really reading, like you'll
if you
find,
read all the articles?
if you read all the articles and you actually, read all the words, you'll find there's some stuff that I stick in there. So that's kind of fun. But yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Are you able to talk about, like, how many, like, subscribers you have, or you're like, "Yeah, it's
Uh,
between, like, 100 and 200 or something?"
I have about 150 subscribers.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
How come so, like, just because you like old school writing, you went with a old school newsletter versus, like, a Substack or something?
I just, when I started it, there was a lot of talk of a lot of people wanted to leave social media and leave the internet. And what if the internet goes away? And what are you going to do with what are you going to do with the recipes? What are you going to do with how to do, all the stuff that we learn about homesteading and different things? What do you do when the internet goes away? That was, talked about in some
Sure.
communities for a while. And so that was another reason it was like to have this on paper. I have a lot of subscribers who save it in a binder, and they just stick every month goes in there and then they can reference it. And so, yeah.
That's a pretty cool idea. I thought about something like heard somebody, talk a little bit about Substack where are you subscribed to any Substacks at all?
Mm-mm.
Or,
No, no.
but you're familiar with the
Yeah.
concept?
Yep.
So you can get like a little snippet for free, or if they do like one of the articles per month for free, and
Hmm.
so it recommends all these other related Substacks to
Hmm.
like people in that genre or whatever, and so you could like
Right.
subscribe all, and so Substack is kind of like, look at all these subscription, like people are subscribing, but like how many of those people are actually engaging with
Right.
the writer? Or
Hmm.
so like there's a guy that he who was talking about this. He like did a test for like his actual like his newsletter that he put out, not the Substack, but a newsletter directly from his
Yep.
website or company or brand, whatever. And from like his 100,000 subscribers, he would like in the little footnote, he would kind of throw some stuff in there every now and then, kind of like, hey, this is like, send me a picture of your desk, like just curious,
Yeah.
what does your desk look like? And he got like a 10% like reply rate.
Oh, wow.
So that's 10,000 emails. And so just to see
Wow.
how many people are actually reading, how many people are
Yeah.
engaging. And
Yep.
so your method is a lot more intimate than
Yeah.
just open the email,
Right.
skim,
Right.
delete, where they have to like physically hold it in their hands. I
Yes.
like that a lot. I think that's very, very good.
Yeah. You sit down on
It's
the
a good
couch
idea.
with your cup of coffee and page through it. And it's funny because there are some people who are like, I would never subscribe to an on paper newsletter because I can get all that online for free. Yep, you
Sure.
can. I'm not denying, you're not wrong, but some people just like going out to the mailbox and getting a little piece of, whatever you want to call it. It's fun.
Do
And
you
I
know
like to write, so
anybody? Has anybody copied you, or
not that I know of, but
just curious?
yeah. I mean, I don't own the idea, I suppose. Like anybody can do
Yeah,
it, but I mean, it is it's funny because after I started it, it was postage immediately went up and printing immediately went. I'm like, come on, you guys, so but it's fun. I feel like I'm an 11-year-old girl again, writing to all my pen pals, so
does
it's
anyone
good for
send
me
you
too.
anything back?
Oh yeah, yeah. I get lots of
Really?
snail mail back. It's pretty cool. So yeah, go
Okay,
to the
that is
post.
not.
It is
I'm
cool.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm starting to come on board. Like, man, I need to do something.
There you
That'd
go.
be
There you go.
cool.
Yep.
Include
It's
some
fun.
custom AI art or something like that, because I can't
Yeah.
draw. I
Right.
don't know.
I'm not a drawer either. No. Lots of pictures that I take, but no
Right.
drawings. No.
I did play with AI pretty heavy the last YouTube video I
Yeah.
did. Like I did all the editing and stuff, but as in terms of like coming up with like the YouTube like thumbnail, like that
Yeah.
little picture of like the farm.
Yep.
That was AI generated. I went through like I kept writing script after script to kind of like
Yeah.
figure out one that I liked, and then came up with like the headline to summarize, and also a different headline inside of the thumbnail. And so I just kind of like I was just like playing around with it, and it's kind of neat. Have you messed with anything like that?
Whenever I'm posting on Pinterest, I will use AI to write some of my descriptions because my brain is just shot. I'm like, I
Sure.
don't need to, and it's so funny because like in the author community, people are super against
Right, because you're not
it.
authentic, I'm sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, and AI is gonna take over and whatever. And I will admit I use that because I don't have to think and I don't want to think all the time. I'm admitting to you after the podcast from this week, I'm admitting I don't want to think all the time. I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
It's Pinterest. Calm down.
I know, right? That's true. It's only Pinterest. Yeah.
And then, but that's a slippery slope, Amy. Next,
It is.
you're going to have your whole book written.
My entire book will be written by AI. You're right. You figured it out.
That would be actually interesting to see what AI comes up with, like your next like homeschooling series or book. Like, here's what it gave me. But you could just like regenerate the response because like people were like, look what the AI said. Da, da, da. It's like, well, if you just hit regenerate, it would flip flop.
Yeah.
So
I
don't know. Could be content in there somewhere, I guess.
It could be. It would be interesting. I'll put it on my back burner of things to do when I don't have anything to do, right? You and I, we don't have anything to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So something that you can't use AI for yet, homesteading.
Correct.
The hard work.
Not that I know of. Someone might figure it out someday. But
yeah, probably soon.
Yeah.
So how did you get started? Walk me through that.
How did we get started? Well, I grew up not as a homesteader. I grew up in the country. I lived on 13 acres of woods and creek and, awesome stuff like that. But what wasn't really a homesteader. We weren't like animals and gardens and anything like that. We just happened to live in the woods. And so that was fun. That was my childhood. I met my husband, and my husband has always lived in town, small town, right in town. And we got married, and we just knew at some point we were going to move to the country and have a farm. Like, I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it was, like Ma Ingalls' Little House on the Prairie kind of fantasy. Like, I don't know. It was just, we just knew one day we're going to move to the country. We're just going to be out of this town and we're going to move to the country. And it's going to be great. And in 2011, we found this awesome farm that we're at. It's 5 acres in central Minnesota. We have the most amazing big red barn that was built in 1918.
Gorgeous barn.
I just love my barn so much. It's so great. Like, we looked at this property and we went in the barn, and I'm climbing the ladder to go into the hayloft. Like, oh my gosh, there's a hayloft. It is. And I remember looking at my husband and being like, this is the place. Like, this is it. So it's just been great. And we moved here and of course filled it up with every animal we could possibly think of, and built the big garden and all the stuff you're not supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to like move to the farm and get all the things and overwhelm yourself. But we did, because that's what you do. Everybody says not to, but everybody does. And yeah, that's how we got started. Pretty much.
So it was just like, it just must have been like in your blood or something like that. Just like
I think so. I had
I have these impulses.
Yeah. I had farmers in my family, but I wasn't connected it in that way to be like, that's what I want to do. Like, I didn't look at my uncle and be like, you're a farmer and I want to farm like you. I want to have a big pig farm. Like that wasn't ever anything I thought, but I did have that connection of, I want to do the homey things, and I want to stay home with my kids, and I want to have chickens, and I want to bake bread, and I want to, I just want to do all those old school 1940s housewife kind of things, or, like that's what I'm channeling or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. But here we are.
So that first year then, what all did you get into? Just the first year.
The first year.
The first year. What did you burden yourself with?
Well, for animals, we brought our chickens with because we had chickens before we moved here. So brought all of our chickens and then immediately got a bunch of goats and horses and pigs. And
Oh my gosh.
I think that was that was the first year. Eventually we
Chickens,
added
pigs, goats,
horses.
horses.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
See, it sounds so funny to say it now. It didn't seem funny at the time. I was like, this is what we're doing. This is great. And then eventually we added, turkeys and ducks and pheasants and got rid of the goats, got rid of the horses, realized those were not things that we actually wanted to have, which is so funny because the thought of moving to the farm, the thing I was excited about was goats. And the thing my husband was excited about was horses. And those are the first two things that went. I was
That's
like,
funny.
you know what? This actually isn't what we want to do. So, yeah. And then, of course, the gardens. And we figured out we had a raspberry patch and we had grapevines and all sorts of things. So there was a lot of stuff to keep us busy. Besides the fact that when we moved into the house, there was a lot of stuff that needed to be finished. It wasn't
Mm.
like we needed to lay flooring. We needed to, like, there was some finishing that needed to be done in the house for us to even move in. And there was a little barn repair that needed to happen. And so, yeah, we were quite busy. We slept very, very well that first year.
Because you're just dead tired.
Oh, yeah. But it was good. It was a good sleep. It was like a satisfied, like fulfilled, like, oh, yeah.
That's it's hard to balance that because like you worked hard and it's satisfying, or like you just ran around like a crazy person. You don't feel like you got
Right.
anything done.
Right.
And you're
Right.
struggling to go to bed, or
Right.
like or
Yeah.
you slept, but you're just like you don't feel rested. It's just
Right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That first year, we definitely got good sleep. I think just because we were running around and like we'd finally get into bed and be like, you just had to get up and do it all again. So those are fun days. They were
Those
fun.
were the fun days. I
Yeah.
don't have a story like that.
No?
We took everybody's advice and
You are
didn't
probably
overwhelm
the
ourselves.
you are probably the only person I have met that didn't overwhelm yourself. Good job. Gold star.
I think we had enough going on. Like we were, let's see, 2019. We were building this house. Then we found out that we were pregnant,
Mhm.
and then I was basically finishing the like small stuff, the interior on my own. And we had a small garden at the time. And
Mhm.
then that next year, we my son was born, and we had chickens. We
Mhm.
got chickens. I think it was just before my son was born, or about the same. I don't remember now.
You're so smart.
Yeah,
You
I
did
don't
it
know
the
about
right
that.
way. You did it
Uh,
the right way. It's funny though, I should point out here, my parents actually lived with us on the farm for the first couple years we were here.
oh,
So, we had 2
sure.
families here. So, that
The
that does make a
divvy up some
yes.
response. I mean, did they really take on much?
Oh,
Did they
yeah.
want to? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The plan when we moved here, what before my husband and I bought the farm, we actually had rented from my parents for 4 years. And, the plan was always we all were going to buy a farm together and have a multi-generational farm. That was always the plan. And then, we lived with them for 4 years. They lived with us for 2 years, and then life happened, and now they're no longer married. So,
Oh,
they are both remarried. It was a big thing, but yeah.
hmm.
That was not the plan, obviously, but yeah. So the first 2 years that we were here, it was 2 families, and so we had all the people to take on all the stuff, so, yeah.
Was it the goats? It was the goats, wasn't
It
it, that
was the goat.
caused
You're right, you're right, it was the goats.
goats are definitely a
Don't
marriage
get
tester
goats, they really
from what I've heard.
oh my gosh, it's so funny because when we were looking around the farm to buy it, one of the boys who grew up here, because we are only the 2nd family that has lived on this farm. So the original family, so all the kids are grown up, obviously, have grandkids of their own. But so, I talk with some of them still. And one of them was here and they said, so what are you planning to get when you move to the farm? And I said, oh, I can't wait to get goats. And he said, why? And I was like, why would you say that? He's like, goats are bad news. And he was right.
He was right.
Goats were not our thing. But you don't know till you try, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
So what do you have now? You have chickens, you have turkeys, you have pigs.
Right now for the winter, we only have chickens and ducks.
Chickens and ducks.
Yep. And then last year was just kind of a chaos year because I went and got the job and thought I was going to go off and do all the things. And then my husband broke his ribs. And so we didn't do a lot of stuff last year. So we didn't have meat birds. We didn't have turkeys. We didn't have pigs. We didn't have anything but the chickens and the ducks. But so normally spring to fall, we would have the chickens, the ducks, turkeys, pigs. And then this year we are adding rabbits. So we were supposed to do that last year. And, we had our hands full with, recovering from breaking ribs and things like that. So yeah.
How's he doing now?
Oh, good. Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would feel like.
It looked like it was painful. And there's really nothing you can do but just wait for them to get better. So that was
just
really
hurts to breathe.
Right. Well, and that was what was frustrating because he's a I want to do all the things,
Yeah.
And so to be told you just like have to sit and there's nothing you can do, you just have to wait for him to get better. Man, that was not cool. Because you just want to do
belt
stuff.
to bite down on.
I know, right? I gotta go out and cut wood. No, you don't. Yeah.
I know I don't have to. It's just that I want to.
I just want to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to do something. Give me something.
I know.
Don't take away my man card.
I know. Exactly. Yeah.
So your operation, what kind of would you say methods or techniques or procedures that you have? Like do you do raised bed gardening? Do you have hugel culture or
so here's my method. I just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and then see what works.
All right, let's hear it. What works?
That we have a really big garden, and it's so funny because people used to ask me gardening techniques and tips, and I would say this is what I do. I put some seeds in the ground and I see what grows. I am so not a planner. I'm not I'm trying to think of something really great I could tell. We did figure out that if you use black plastic mulch, we don't have to deal with weeds anymore. That is the only way that we have figured out to deal with weeds here. Everything else we have tried, it just, oh my gosh, I don't know what's
even
with these...
thick mulch, huh?
Yeah, it's just, it's insane. So the black plastic mulch is the thing we have figured out. We grow potatoes and onions in hay or straw. We do that. That works really well here. We do have a little bit of a raised garden where we're growing our herbs. I'm trying to think of what else. We have the grapevines. They're growing on an old corn crib. We have a ginormous raspberry.
Awesome.
I know. It was funny because when we moved
cool.
here, a bunch of people would drive by and they'd be like, well, can you sell those corn cribs to us? No, that's what my grapevines are going to be growing on. We actually moved those from my parents' house, which had come from my grandparents' house. So it's a really old grapevine. Cool. So yeah. So now they're on our corn cribs. Cool. So yeah. Yeah.
Are you guys zone 3 or zone 4?
We are right on the border. We're
depends
4A,
on the week.
Yep. Yeah. I think technically we're right at the top of 4A. So. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I hope that we don't have snow till May this year, but I don't know. It's we just keep getting
it might do really well, and then you get snow in May.
Right. Yeah, we have such huge snow piles right now, and I know I say it every year. Those snow piles are going to be around till June, and they never are. But my gosh, they're I swear to God, they are 12 feet tall. It's ridiculous. That's crazy. But it's Minnesota. Nuts. What do you do?
That's right. You just got to keep figuring out places to put it.
I know. Push it around with a tractor.
Last year was kind of also crazy weather for you too. Didn't you have like crazy floods and
Oh yeah.
like your whole like yard flooded or something?
Well,
And like a big tree got taken out?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had oh gosh. Yeah, the storms. It was crazy. And like right away that was like the beginning of spring was when the storm, or maybe beginning of summer. Must have been summer, and the trees were just we walk outside. I'm like, "What?"
Because
And
the
then
ground
people are
got so saturated
yeah,
and then the winds
yeah, and
came?
they just so and people said, "Oh, that's so great. You have free firewood." I'm like, "Huh."
I got a big mess is what I got.
I got a mess is what I got, exactly.
Yeah,
And it's not like it's dry wood, it's
right.
I'm cutting it and I'm still waiting for it to dry, but, um, yeah, it's weird because we've actually been in a drought, I think, for 2 years technically,
Hmm.
but then when the rain comes, it's like the ground is so dry, like the rain can't go anywhere, and so, our ditches flood and then the driveway floods and there's just water sitting everywhere and blah. Crazy, and we have clay soil here, so or
Right.
would you say
Yes.
clay soil or just clay? Whatever you would say, it's clay. So it's yeah.
Yeah. The ground's not getting any. Yeah.
It's
Water's
not
not getting
ideal.
through that. No.
No, no.
You could dig a pond, store all that
Good.
water.
I know. I know. That's why the ducks love it so much, right?
That's right.
It's just a mess.
We have such a lack of water here
Do you?
that like Minnesota gets like, depending where you are, let's say like 48 inches of precipitation a year.
Okay.
We're here in western Montana in the Bitterroot Valley here. It's like 19.
Oh, really?
It's yeah, it's so less than half, and
Oh,
it's just
jeez.
it's dry, and the summer
Wow.
is intense. So like also with Minnesota, you got all the lakes, right? The land of
Yes.
10,000 lakes.
Yeah. A million lakes.
More like it, yeah.
I know.
So you got all the humidity too.
Yes.
It's just dry
Oh,
here. And so there's we moved to this property, and when we first I did like a walk around, and there's like I would say like fossilized poop everywhere.
yeah.
Like from where like the deer have come through
Mhm.
over the decades,
Oh,
since
jeez.
whatever. Um it just like turns white. Like nothing like breaks down here because it's just
So
dry.
dry.
It's so dry. Like
So
old
so
fence posts don't rot.
do you have lots of mosquitoes then or no?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
We have such a lack of bugs. It's really nice.
that would be the only good part, I bet, is the lack of bugs.
The lack of
That's
plowing snow. That's
yeah.
nice.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want me to send you a package of mosquitoes, I'd be
Yeah,
a
that'd be great.
gift from me
Can
to
you
you.
can you send like I know there's like ticks and deer ticks around here, but
Yeah.
you kind of got to go searching for them.
Oh, really? They're
So if
not
you
just
end
you
up
go outside and they're just there on you.
right, yeah. So if you could send me some deer ticks while you're
That
at
would be
it, that'd be
sweet.
great. Yeah,
I will
just
make you a care package from Minnesota.
put include it in your next newsletter.
I will. There you go.
Just
There you go.
tape a little one. So we're getting off on a tangent. This is totally fine. But so like at my grandparents' cabin,
Yeah.
like obviously ticks were just like it's in the woods, like
Yes.
on a lake. And so ticks were very common. And
Mhm.
we once found a deer tick and my grandma kept it like in like a piece of tape,
Yeah.
like just taped over on itself. And so like for years it felt like you would flick that tape, that little thing would still kick its legs.
For real? Oh my gosh.
Yes. Isn't that gross?
They are unstoppable.
They are.
Ah,
If your dog
so good.
gets some on them,
I know, I know.
poor
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
that's crazy.
But yeah, we like it. So where I was going with that with the water, uh I hired a guy a month, maybe a couple like 6 weeks ago, maybe now, to come out, kind of do like a property evaluation, walk through and so we're gonna have a bigger focus on storing water
Oh,
on the
nice.
property because drilling well is super expensive and we need to somehow bring more like store more water in the ground. Like we can have like holding
Wow.
tanks. We're talking about doing like timber frame ponds and stuff. but it's so dry that, with evaporation and then the wind,
Yeah.
which causes more evaporation,
Oh,
uh,
geez.
just water just doesn't stick around in the ground when it does come. So
That's
you
so
gotta
crazy to think
really,
about. Like,
I know it's weird coming from like
yeah,
just you're basically like in the wetlands,
I
right? Like
know.
it's all summer. You're like you walk out in your front yard in
I
Minnesota
know.
and it's like squishes between your
I
toes.
know. That's crazy to think about, like, not experiencing that. That's wow.
You send me mosquitoes and I'll
Uh,
send you fossilized deer poop.
Perfect. It'll be a
Is a
great
trade.
exchange.
Yes. And like the second you open it, like in
Yeah.
Minnesota, it just like breaks down into like fertilizer because the humidity is just like it's like taking an oxygen absorber like out of out
Oh
of
my
a
gosh.
package.
Yeah. I'll make a TikTok about it so you can see. There you go.
1 week in Minnesota versus 1 week in Montana.
There you
What
go.
happens to deer poop?
Funny.
Um, so you mentioned a couple things that have worked well. The black
Mhm.
plastic works well.
Mhm.
Um, goats didn't work well. Horses didn't
No.
work well. So you like having pigs. Tell me more about the pigs.
It's funny
You don't look
because
like a pig farmer.
I don't know, what does a pig farmer look like? I don't know.
They look
Actually,
smelly. You don't
my
look
my
smelly.
my uncle was a pig farmer, so I know what you're saying. Um, I it's funny because when we first moved here and we started talking about getting pigs, I was like, "Why would you want pigs, you guys? Come on." I was the person in the house who did not want pigs. And I will tell you what, we got those pigs, and I think they're the coolest animals. They just I love their personalities. I think they're awesome, and they give us bacon. So
And bacon.
I
Yeah.
don't know how it gets better than that. So it's been very cool. I love it. We usually get 4 a year, 4 feeders we get from a neighbor, and then we raise them up for 4, 5, 6 months, depending on the year, and put them in our freezer. We keep
You keep
2.
all of them? Oh, okay.
No,
I
we
got you.
usually keep 2, and then we raise a couple for other people for other stuff they've got going on, bartering things. So yeah,
Nice.
it's good.
That's cool.
Yeah,
What
I like
what
them.
breed do you like to keep?
What are they? I feel like they are red wattle and Duroc, a
I
mix.
think I've heard those.
So
I think I've heard
yeah,
those before. Yeah.
yeah. So we
Do
like them.
they're pretty well behaved, like they don't
Oh yeah.
get cause too much mischief, get out.
No, and they're
How do
not.
you keep them?
Well, there were pigs on this farm before, so it's set up really nice for pigs.
Mm,
I mean, so there's a lot of concrete or cement that kind of lines the area that they're in, so they can't get out. We have really good like like really really tough hog panels. That was the greatest thing about moving here is like all the structures were here. We didn't have to worry about we got to build this thing, to put this animal in. There's what like 7 outbuildings here. So it's just
dang.
it was awesome to move here and be like, this is where all the stuff is going. There were some things that need to be repaired or touched up, but we had to put a lot of fence in. But the structures were here, so that was awesome.
Yeah, if you had to choose, for
Yes.
sure, you would choose having existing structures over
Yes.
putting in fence.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What what's some stuff that that hasn't worked? You're just like this failed.
Well, we don't have the goats anymore. We don't have the horses anymore. And a lot of that was we don't have enough room here to make our own hay. So when you
Mm,
have animals like that and you have to buy hay,
yeah.
then you start to think, okay, why do we have them? Is it worth the money, that extra money, to buy the hay and all of that? Is it worth what we're getting out of the animals? We used to have pheasants. We don't have pheasants anymore. That did not work because we didn't realize we weren't following the rules.
You need a
That
game license.
you need a game farm license.
Yeah, that's so dumb.
I know if you're going to overwinter them or incubate their eggs, you need to have a game farm license, and we had pheasants for probably 3 years before we learned that, which was just something someone said in conversation, and we're like, "Wait a second, we did a lot of research about this," and then we looked and looked, and we're like, "Oh, look at that." And getting a game farm license isn't a big deal, it's only like $15, So it wasn't like that was a big deal, but they come out to your farm and they check everything out, and you have to like send reports on what you're hatching. And I was like, I don't like pheasants enough to want to get into that. So,
right.
yeah, we decided pheasants are not going to be a thing we do anymore. So that didn't work. So I guess do your research. More research than you think you did, apparently, because I thought I had this figured out. But
Right. Or do the legal for a fee kind of thing.
yeah, it was funny because like for a while we were just like, whatever, we'll still have them. Like nobody's gonna know, But then I was like, I'm writing all these articles about how to raise pheasants and how to incubate pheasants, and all I could think was somebody's gonna find this out. And somebody's gonna have a problem with it, and
Someone's gonna check in. Oh, is Amy up
I
to
know.
date on her pheasant game license?
Right. I know. And then I just worry about it. So I was like, these just need to go away. And pheasants are kind of jerks anyway. They're
Are
really
they?
Yeah. They fight, they're really cannibalistic. And even if you
geez.
give them, I mean, they had so much room here and they still like them, those males would just just go at each other. So we used to call them ninja. Well, I won't say it, but yeah, we had names for them and they were just very feisty with each other and very just, I don't know, picking at each other. And you'd go out and go, oh, look, couple more killed each other. That's great. Now they're making a feast of each other. So it's great.
Jeez.
It's wild. I know. Who knew? Nature is crazy.
I almost bought a bunch of like you can buy pheasants obviously from like hatcheries and stuff. And I thought about buying a bunch of them and just like letting them go because I just like see like rarely, like maybe once a year, I see one just like walk across the property and then it's gone. Like it's just
really,
like, yeah, it's like,
oh my gosh, we have them at our bird feeders all the time. We see them all the time. And my husband will always say, do you think that one came from our house? Probably. I feel like we kind of repopulated, the whole area for those 3 years. But yeah, they're cool to see. They're beautiful birds, but they're just feisty.
I had one for the first time in a long time, like just this weekend. And it's actually, I mean, they taste just like a chicken, just like with flavor.
Yeah.
Like they just have like this natural flavor about it.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'll give credit to my wife for trying. She tried and she's just, it was too powerful of a flavor for her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just, I guess when you're, maybe you just weren't expecting it or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think she just has like a higher sensitivity to stuff like that. Cause we've tried a couple of different breeds of lamb. So we bought a sheep, had it processed, and like the one breed, it was very fatty.
Okay.
It was a wool breed that, so the wool contains lanolin and stuff. Well, because we were looking at getting sheep. We're still maybe looking at getting sheep. That's a little bit further down the road. But so then I found a breed that I liked. Like this one is a hair breed and like just drops its hair. Like so you don't need to shear it, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. And they lamb super easy. They're smaller bodied, but basically you could be hands off. They're very take care of themselves.
Perfect.
And so I found a guy. I bought one, had it processed, and we tried it because like we're gonna do this for meat. If we don't like the meat, why are we doing this?
Right.
And she's like, this is so good. This flavor is so like it was a little bit leaner because it's hair. It doesn't have like the lanolin, and so the lanolin doesn't like come in like it. Was like, nitpickers or whatever. I think it's just lower in lanolin. It doesn't lack lanolin, but that affects the meat, and so this is a lot more mild flavor of lamb, and it was super tasty.
I didn't even know that about sheep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I mean, it's the same thing in like pigs, right? Because you could have like, don't they say like boar taint or?
They say that. I've never. I've actually heard like there's people who can taste it and people who can't. So, and I've eaten a lot of pork in my life, so I can't imagine that I haven't experienced it, but I must not be able to taste it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
And maybe my wife would be one of those people that could taste boar taint.
Maybe.
We went to a barbecue at a neighbor's. He puts on like this big like neighborhood barbecue.
Mhm.
From and cooks one of the pigs that he raises, and that was some of the greasiest pork I've
Oh, really?
ever had. Like it gave me a gut ache from how
Mm.
greasy it was. It was like
Ugh.
not like I'm not opposed to like eating like fatty meat, but when
Yeah.
it's like the rate, like it was just way too much. Like you could like
Too much.
take your brisket or whatever he gave us and like
Yeah.
wring it out, and it was
Ugh.
yeah,
Ugh.
it was way too much.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what he feeds his pigs or what kind of
Mm.
breed pigs he has,
Right.
but this is also the same guy that was like, yeah, I'm pretty convinced that you could feed your pigs straight garbage and it wouldn't affect the meat.
I have heard people say that, and I'm like, "Mm, I
you,
don't
you
know."
I hope you're not trying to make a profit on those pigs, or
Right.
your margins are so slim that you have to feed them garbage
Right.
to
Right.
make it.
Oh gosh.
Um, how are you trying to incorporate your rabbits this year? Like, do they follow the chickens to break up the chicken poop, or no? It'd be the other way around.
They're they're just gonna be in my barn
You're like,
in
just keep it simple.
some cages. That's what they're gonna be. That's what we're starting with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought about getting some to keep them wild because
Yeah.
I've heard they're very temperamental.
Mm.
Like, it gets half a degree too hot and they're dead or
It's funny because
something.
when we were researching them, I always thought, like, the winter would be how we're gonna keep them warm, and my friends who have rabbits are like, "No, no, no, that's not the issue. The issue is the summer." That's they and I'm thinking when we'd go to the county fair when my kids were younger and they were in 4-H, there were always rabbits that died during the fair because it was
Oh
August and it
no.
got super hot in those barns, so there was always rabbits that were being shown that died, and I'm like, "Oh, now it makes sense." Like,
That sounds
yeah.
like a terrible time to have the fair.
I know, right? Like, what are you doing? It's
Or
horrible,
like, I don't know, put them in like a walk-in cooler or
right?
something and let
Right?
people.
Poor
Yeah,
rabbits.
I did not know that. That makes sense though.
Yeah.
All these years I've been going to the fair. Wonder how many dead ones I saw as a kid and didn't know it.
He's just sleeping.
Just
It's
sleeping.
fine.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that that came up at one point.
Sure it did.
Um, but yeah, we don't like the taste of rabbit enough to bring rabbits on the
Yeah.
property. I was just gonna like let them run free, and they would be more of like a alternative food source if needed. Like
Right.
go set up traps and catch rabbit, or
Do
hit
you
one
not
with a
have a lot
pellet
of
gun.
rabbits there running wild?
I have zero.
Really?
I don't have squirrels. I know it's so weird.
Okay, so
So
in
weird.
the care package I'm going to send you, I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
send
send me
you
a
some
squirrel.
bunnies from the yard
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm gonna send you some pheasants because they're everywhere. Would you like some wild turkeys? Because
Sure.
they are always at our feeder as well.
We do have wild turkeys, but
Do
they're
you?
also like they just like pass through. And
Oh, okay.
the people that I buy feed from currently, they have like 200 rabbits on their property, just
Oh my
like
gosh.
everywhere. And so
Wow.
they're like, you can just take them. And I just haven't taken them up on it yet. And
Yeah,
if my wife's not like into it, then
right. Then why?
I'm not sure I would.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
um yeah, it's what's what would you say the biggest challenge in your, let's see, you're going on 12, this will be like your 13th year of homesteading. What would be the biggest challenge you faced?
In homesteading. Um, it kind of has to do with homesteading. I would say being a homesteader and then also trying to create content as a homestead content creator has probably been the biggest challenge, I would say. Um, because like I have this thing where I want to teach people about what we're doing here, right? I want to share our life and teach people how to do the things, but doing the things and then remembering to sit down and write about them, or doing the things and setting up a camera to film what you're
Yes.
doing is one more step, and sometimes you don't wanna do one more step, and so, I think that has been a struggle, and I've also talked to some, bigger content creators who are way bigger than I am and are doing a lot more traveling and speaking and things like that, who have mentioned that you can get to the point where you are traveling so much and speaking so much and doing all these presentations about it so much that you don't have enough time to do the things that you're speaking about. And you're not
Yes.
at home on the farm, you're not doing the things, you're hiring people to take care of the stuff for you because you have to go teach people about it, and that's like a weird place to be, like trying to figure out where that line is, where that boundary is between I moved to the farm to do this stuff for my family, but now I'm spending all my time teaching people about it, and where's that boundary? So oddly enough, I would say that's probably been the biggest challenge, and maybe that's because I've been here for 12 or 13 years that I probably forgot the bigger stuff. Maybe I look back and I'm like, oh, it's so wonderful.
Rose-colored glasses.
Rose-colored glasses. I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I think I know that when my kids were younger, that whole thing about we're going to raise these animals for meat, and yep, we know that's what we're doing. And then that first time that you butcher, and those pigs were their friends, that whole coming to terms with, yep, I knew this was going to happen, but here's the reality of it happening. That was hard the first time to watch as a parent, like them coming to that realization of, oh my gosh, okay, now they're going in the freezer. So that was hard. I don't know. I think it's a fun life to live because there's always something new you have to learn, especially if you didn't grow up with this. It's
Right.
there's always a new project to take on and figure out how to do it. So I like that.
Just constant problem solving.
That's really what it is.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like the thing about the content creation is, it's really documentation, right? That's
Yeah.
what it is. Like
Yeah.
I could do this thing in 5 minutes. I just want to go do it. And then
Yeah.
because you don't really want to get your camera out or your phone or whatever, you end up filming it like half-assed. And so you're just like, well, I can't even use this anyways because I just wasn't into filming it.
That's
Like,
exactly what happens. Yeah.
here I am feeding the chickens. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, cool. I'm glad I have that on
Right.
in my camera roll or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll use it somewhere, I guess.
Right.
It's so funny because we were we were looking up something for this. We have a homemade incubator that we're making right now. It's like the 5th one that we've made, and we change it every
Nice.
time we make it. And so my husband is thinking, okay, we need to figure out how to do this for off-grid people. Like, let's make it a 12-volt system, and then let's figure out how to do like a 12-volt brooder. And he's got this whole thing he's trying to figure out. So we're looking up on YouTube, what have people already done? And, you go down these rabbit holes of all this other stuff. And I'm like, look at the videos that people are making. Like, they're making videos of all this crazy stuff, right? And so my husband says to me, he's like, Amy, if you could just find someone who would follow you around for 3 or 4 days with a camera, you would have so much content. I'm like, yep. I know. If I would just get out the camera, but I just, sometimes you're just like, no, I just want to get the work done.
Sometimes you're just like, no.
Just like, no. So, yeah.
I looked at, there's this new camera. You've probably seen it on Instagram where people are filming and you don't see the selfie stick. It's 2 fisheye lenses back to back. And
Nice.
it's a lot of people, usually they're running. They're running and the camera just rotates. You're like, whoa, how did they do that? And it's all done in the software or whatnot. But
Okay.
so you get a 360 panorama view of
Wow.
wherever, and so you can point it where. Anyways, my idea was my son just wants to do everything that daddy does.
Of course.
And so when I did the property walkthrough, I was they used an old GoPro on the selfie stick. When you're walking around your property for 2 hours,
Right.
your arms get tired. Right? Well, if I gave my son the camera that just doesn't. It sounds good in theory. It
Yeah.
probably would just get set down in the dirt and get left outside.
And then you'd have that in your camera roll, and you could
I
use
would
it
have
someday.
that. That's right. But yeah,
You
I don't
could
know.
turn it into a great TikTok of my son wanted to help,
Yep.
and you'd
My
probably get
son,
3
the photographer.
billion views on it, because that's what happens on TikTok, right? You get all the views on the thing that you're like, oh, you just throw it up, and then the thing you worked really hard on and planned out, you're like, really, 100 views? Are you kidding me? Right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
does
that's
that
how
work?
it feels with
That's how it
with
feels.
my latest YouTube video. Like, I took 2 hours of content and brought it down to 28 minutes. I was
Oh,
like really
geez.
proud of those 28 minutes, but it took
Yeah.
me forever. I had
Forever.
audio issues. I hired a guy on Fiverr to help me fix it,
Oh,
because like it was
geez.
something about like because we had like lapel mics that I had, but and so like the audio, I wanted the audio separate from the video. That was fine because the GoPro audio wasn't going to be good enough. But then there were like the spacing wasn't the same. Like
Oh,
it got like you'd think you could just start at the beginning, same
right.
time, and go. Nope.
Oh,
It just got off and blah blah
yeah.
blah. It was annoying. So I hired a guy to fix it, and then I still had to go back and trim out all the
Oh,
stuff, and it was so
it's so
tedious. It
much
took me
work.
so
Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
and then I put it out there and just like flopped. Just like
Ah, that's the
whatever.
worst. That's the worst.
Whatever. I'm glad I recorded it though, because when I watched it back, I'm like, oh, that was a good tip that he had. Like, I don't like, maybe I just didn't like hear him,
Oh, sure.
or I was I was thinking about something else, or just
Yeah.
didn't remember at all. But
So
I
it's
got
good you have the
digital
information,
copy.
but
Yeah, just for me. That's fine.
just for
Just for
you.
me.
You were the only viewer of that, and it's fine.
Where did where did these 300 views come from?
Right.
It's all the same IP address.
Oh my gosh.
But what would you say, like, what would you tell people that want to get started in homesteading?
Well, most people would say, don't move to the homestead and then fill up your barn with all the animals and overwhelm yourself. That's what everybody says, right? And you are the only person who's ever followed that advice. So I'm not going to give that advice. I think what I would say is, if you want to get into homesteading, do it, but know why you're doing it. Like,
Sure.
have a reason, like, this is why I want to homestead. What I want to move to the country because I want to get away from the city. And that's the only reason. That's all I care. Or I want to move to the country. I want to have a homestead. I want to have this and that. And I want to grow or raise 75% of my food. Like, have a goal, have a reason, because if you don't know why you're there, then when things get really hard, because they will, you're going to wonder why you're there. Right? You're going to think, okay, this sucks. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I say that because we did the same thing with homeschooling. We made like a mission statement for our homeschool. Like, this is why we're doing this. This is what we want to accomplish with this. So then when I got crazy and decided we need to worry about all these other things, my husband would be like, hold on. This is the reason we're homeschooling. It had nothing to do with this. You're making this dramatic. You're making this more work than it needs to be. So it was really good to go back to that and be able to, line things up and go, we don't need to worry about this, or this is not following the path that we wanted to follow. So I would say with homesteading, it's kind of the same thing. Like, know why you want to do it. Have a plan, a little bit of a plan, like, this is why I'm here. I guess that would probably be my best advice, or what I would tell someone.
Sure. Yeah. They have to do what gets them excited. Otherwise,
Yeah.
if you're doing stuff that doesn't get you excited, like, it's not worth doing.
Right. And I think, like, in a time where there's YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all the people making all the content, it's really easy to get excited about homesteading and then try to live somebody else's homesteading life. And you can't live somebody else's homestead life because your homestead's completely different. Your family's completely different. Montana's different than Minnesota. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So you have to figure out what your homestead life's going to be and then live that.
Good. Yeah. It's one person that I followed on Instagram last year, I think it was, like, oh, cool. This person does a garden. That's neat. And then all the videos were her just like drinking wine in the garden. Like, that's a quick on.
Don't you drink
This was a
wine in your
mistake.
garden?
I don't know. I don't even drink wine. Like I don't even drink. And so like also my garden does not look anything like hers. At least it didn't. We're totally like redoing the garden too, but like I fenced in my plants from the deer instead of fencing out the deer. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
And so there is no drinking wine in the garden unless I like got in my raised bed, like with the deer fence, like around me, like a cage.
That would be a super funny video though.
Yeah. Just like dirt, look at me. I'm a real homesteader. Like, cause I can drink wine in my garden. Welcome to my garden.
Welcome to my garden.
Yeah.
Yes. Where there are no mosquitoes or ticks. Or maybe there's ticks. I don't know.
My son has definitely been in there picking tomatoes, and I've got pictures of that. So
yeah.
Hey, you're gonna help me pick tomatoes? And he's like too busy like eating the tomatoes right off the like to bother to answer me.
We need
Tries
to
to
get
talk
some
and all
of
the
those
steeds
into
just
the
like
house.
run down his face.
Oh my gosh. That's so awesome. That reminds me when my kids were younger and before we lived here, when we were in the woods, there was blackberries everywhere, and we're going to go and pick blackberries. And I don't think, 10% of them maybe made it into the bucket. The rest were, all over. So
yes,
that's what you do.
That's like how it is huckleberry picking out here.
Yeah.
Like let's see. My son was 1 year old and I had him in the front here, and I'm trying to pick huckleberries, and he's eating them almost as fast as I'm picking them, because like huckleberry picking isn't fast unless you have like one of those like special like blueberry.
I've never picked huckleberries.
Well, there's a tool that blueberry farmers use. It's a very like special, like thinly tined like rake on the bottom, and then it's like a bucket on the back side, I guess. And so like you scoop, and so like all the blueberries pop off.
Yep.
And then it's collected in like the hopper in the back, and then you dump it in a bucket. And so like it goes really fast. And I don't know if that would work with huckleberries, because the berries are underneath the leaves. So like when you look from above, it doesn't look like there's any huckleberries, but you have to like look under all the leaves to check them. So I don't know if it would work anyways. But anyways,
it's a process.
It's very slow. It's slow. Yeah, it's a process.
And
but it's super tasty.
He was putting them in as fast as you could. Yeah.
And we got good pictures of it. So like you get like purple stained hands, and I'm sure like you do with blackberries. But yeah, it's a good time. Good memories.
It's a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or mention, or your books?
I mean, I have books. I've written a few. I'm working on another one. So here's a funny thing. So I just finished the Homeschool Highway series because, my boys are graduated now, and I'm like, I got to write one last hurrah about, my last thoughts about homeschooling and what happens after. And
Swan song.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I'm like, after I finish this homeschooling highway book, I'm going to switch to fiction, because I also write fiction and I love writing fiction. So, I'm going to finish this homeschool book, and then it's going to be fiction. And I'm not kidding you. I finished that homeschooling book, got it out, got it published, and I immediately sit down at the computer and I open a document and I start a book about homesteading. It is not a fiction book. It is a nonfiction book about homesteading. What am I doing? Oh my gosh. So there you go. So now I'm working on a book about homesteading. I don't know.
You had to scratch that itch.
I did. It's just.
And it'll probably do very well.
I'm excited. I can't stop writing. And apparently homesteading is the thing on my mind right now. Because I ran away from home a little bit there for a while. And now I'm back. So we're going to write about homesteading because that's what I'm doing.
You're just working out a few issues.
Just working out a few issues, little midlife crisis. And some people, they were like, it's just a little mini midlife crisis. I'm like, no, I ran away from home. I was like the little 5-year-old who's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to run away from home. And then, you pack up your stuff and you trudge down the street and then you get thirsty and hungry and you miss your mom. And then you're like, I better go back home, I guess.
Did you actually ever run away from home?
I never did. I planned to once when I was younger. And it wasn't that I didn't want to be home. It's that I wanted. Do you know the Boxcar Children? Do you know the book?
Yes,
The Boxcar
I
Children?
do. Yeah, it's obviously it's been a while, but
It's
yeah.
been a hot minute, but I wanted to live like the Boxcar Children. I
It
wanted to
does
go.
look pretty.
I know. So my parents found out that my sister and I were talking about planning to run away, and they were like offended, like, "Oh my gosh, oh my god," and all this trouble. And I'm like, "No, it's not that I don't like my home. It's that I want to live like the Boxcar
I could live in a
Children.
boxcar.
I could live
What
in a
more do I need to
boxcar.
say? Like, it's not you. It's that
It's
we
not
just don't have a
you.
boxcar.
I know.
Get a
That's the
boxcar and we'll talk.
I know. We can make this work. That's the only time that I ever ran away from home,
That's
except for when I
funny.
was 43 and ran away from home. It's fine.
I don't remember how old I was, maybe 10, and I was all pissed off about something. And so like I actually I got my little bag that's
Yeah.
like it was some bag that my aunt had got me. So it's like bright yellow, red, green, blue. It says Matthew on the side. And like I put a bunch of clothes in there and some books, and like I made it. So like we lived on the corner. I made it
Yeah.
to the corner, and my mom's
Mhm.
like, if you don't come back inside, you're not gonna get any ice cream. And so I was like, damn, I wouldn't get any ice cream. So that's what got me back in the
Ice
door was
cream.
ice cream.
Should I put some ice cream in your Minnesota care package as well?
Maybe. I could send you some Tillamook Huckleberry ice cream.
Ooh, that would be
It's
good. I
it is
don't know
pretty
if it would
good.
make it here though.
I think
Sorry.
they sell dry ice at the local store.
That's
The
true.
local, so
And it's
it'll make
Minnesota,
it.
so it could be really cold when you send it to me.
Good.
That's true.
Good.
It could be. You never know.
More ice and less cream.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Mm.
But hey, it's been really good having you here. It's definitely getting late for you, but I appreciate you coming on and bringing in the new year with this interview. So first
It
interview of
was
2023 for you.
it was super, super fun, and I'm glad that we got to chat. It's always fun to chat with you.
Yes, same. Thank you, Amy.
Inside of the city, the people are crazy, out of their minds, they ain't got a clue. We gone away, headed west for Montana, left family and friends, all I got now is you. We both got new jobs, a house and a homestead, thinking this was the life, all that there'd be. After our firstborn, you had to stay home. That's when the work got in the way for me. Well, I started FarmHopLife. We'll come to your farm to help and to wander. Me and the family, a truck and an RV. Send us a message and there